What's good, everyone? Yesterday's trade ended up being splendid. If you followed me on Twitter, just like I told you, would have called the trade exactly at 10:56 a.m. And yep, just played out. Pretty straightforward. And so that marks the 108th win out of the last 135 calls that I've made here on YouTube since February. So to those of you that are new here, understand that you're probably at the right place because we tend to be right more often than we're wrong. Anyways, time to get into the trade for today. So taking a look at the daily chart, we have closed bearish yesterday. Now, unfortunately, we still haven't closed bullish yet. For those of you who kind of missed what I was talking about in the last couple of days, understand that we are in this bullish order block right now on the daily chart, which means that until proven otherwise, we are supposed to bounce out from this area towards the bullish side. Not only that, but if you go onto the weekly chart, there is also another bullish order block that price is in the process of filling. And like a couple of weeks ago, we had a really bullish close. And so we were expecting last week to actually close bullish as well, especially followed by the federal funds rate, where they are starting to reduce the interest rates, which are really good for risk on assets like crypto, such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, even Nasdaq and the S&P 500. Problem is, right now, it's actually dumping. But we are overall still bullish though, not only in the overall market structure. If you take a look here, this is just overall super bullish, but also in the micro structure, in the sense that in the daily chart, you have already gotten a change in state of delivery at this point right here, which means like for the most part, you are already bullish. And right now you're looking for bullish PD arrays to retrace back into before further upside. And that's what we're looking for at the moment. So far we're still bullish, except the fact that within the micro timeframes, meaning the low timeframes, we haven't gotten that kind of confirmation yet. And so we're just going to chill, and we're not going to go long yet until we get at the very least a bullish daily candle close. But just understand, if you're a swing trader, if you're a slightly longer term trader, this is a great area to start accumulating. It's the same exact advice that I give you guys back when we were here, back when price retraced into this fair value gap right here. I called it publicly. Back when price retraced into both of these fair value gaps, I just said like, hey guys, just buy. Like, it doesn't matter if like you buy here, it goes lower, like you're already in great profit. It's also the same thing that I said back here. So just understand that I've been making these videos for a while now, and these higher time frame stuff, they may take a while to play out, but they're really, like, the accuracy is usually pretty good. And especially if you're watching this, like, again, proof is in the pudding. Just within the intraday trades that I'm calling, I have an 80% win rate. Now, long term wise, sure, you may lose this trade, you may win, doesn't matter. What matters is that, objectively speaking, this is a good area to buy. And so yeah, if you're looking to accumulate, I can only speak from Bitcoin, like I can't speak in terms of Ethereum, but Ethereum would technically be a good place to accumulate as well, because you have just swept out this liquidity right here. But still, we're going to get into Ethereum later. Just understand that Bitcoin, if you're a swing trader or a slightly longer term trader, this is already a great place to accumulate. But enough about the longer term stuff. Let's talk about short term stuff. Again, yesterday's daily candle closed bearish, which means today technically we're supposed to be looking for a bearish trade. Except the fact that so far on the 1 hourly chart, it's looking pretty bullish. But there are a couple of ways that this can go. A is that following the bearish thesis, price has just filled in this 1 hourly PD array, bearish PD array, after sweeping out the Asia highs. And this is all occurring during the London session, which, for those of you who don't know, London tends to be a session of manipulation. Meanwhile, Asia is your session of accumulation. And if you know anything about smart money trading, you have accumulation. You manipulate, basically do a false move towards one side of the Asia range, which tricks people into thinking that, hey, the market is going up, before you distribute heavily towards the downside, so that everyone that went long here, everyone that got fooled into thinking that price is going to go up, well, guess what? When price retraces, or rather when price reverses aggressively towards the other side, all of them are going to be stuck and they're going to be forced to close their positions. This is the essence of smart money trading, and the type of thing that we're going up against when we're trading against these big funds as well as these market makers. So that is so far the first kind of theory that I can see. The second of which is, well, you've already gotten some kind of a CISD on the bullish side of things. So potentially you could trade above this bearish order block and flip this resistance into potential support before going towards the upside. As to which one's going to happen, well, guess what? We're going to have to zoom into the lower timeframes to narrow this down. But just understand that the order block extends all the way until there, because technically it's this series of like kind of, you know, random up close candles. But I think for accuracy's sake, we can like reasonably and safely go for this one right here. Just understand also the overall, like just keeping in mind the overall order flow, it's pretty bearish. So just understand so far we're going to be looking for downside until proven otherwise, especially because we had a bearish daily candle close. So going down into the lower timeframes, I've kind of already, started positioning myself into a trade here, which is we got a CISD here after London swept out the Asia high. And so this is known as a manipulation again. So like my entry would be there, place my stop above there, and I'm just simply going to target for a 2R trade. So far, I'm still sitting at around break even, which is fine. By the time you watch this video though, if price has broken below this low right here at 112,400, then you could potentially just continue riding the momentum all the way towards the downside with this level right here at 112,000 flat being the intraday target. Or just take your profit at 2R, whether 2R ends here or here, doesn't quite matter. Just understand that following the system so far, the trade today should be bearish rather than bullish. Now, this changes though if during the New York session, you get a break above this level right here at 113,000. Now, if that happens, then you could potentially flip that resistance into support before price continues going to the upside. If that happens, guess what? You're going to potentially take a long. Me, I'm going to sit this one out in terms of the long side because my system dictates that A, I'm trading on a news day, and B, there's time frame alignment, meaning like the daily time frame, the hourly time frame, and the minute time frame should be aligned in the same direction. So far, the daily is down, and in the event that we break above here, that means the hourly will be up and the minute will be up. So this is called time frame misalignment. And so personally, I'm going to sit this one out. And also the other reason being the fact that we do not have news today. Wednesday, absolutely zero news, which means today's not going to be as high probability of a trading day compared to yesterday, where we called it and it happened very cleanly. That is a prime example of correct theory, correct knowledge and correct theory being executed on a proper day. Now, there is also the flip side of that, which is you are right about the theory, everything seems to be lining up, but then when you do take the trade, it just ends up not going in your favor. And that could purely be due to the fact that it's not a high probability trading day, which i.e. means that it's not a news day. Again, as traders, ideally you're focusing on news days because that is when things tend to happen, as well as things tend to happen much more cleaner compared to a non-news day. The reason? Well, let's just say that when there is news, everyone is paying attention to the news. And so you're going to have much more market interest, you're going to have much more market participants, which also means much more movement and much cleaner movement. But anyways, going back into the trade for today, just understand that whatever trade that you do decide to take, I would highly advise, if you're going towards the short side, feel free to take a trade between 7 to 10 a.m. with 1% risk. But personally, I'm going to try to stick to 0.5% risk or potentially just taking my trade, like my TP at 2R rather than aiming for a further target. The reason is because today's, we always take into consideration the market conditions as a trader. Because just like how you wouldn't necessarily be super aggressive in your buying at the start of a bear market, you also wouldn't be necessarily aggressive with your buying at the end of a bull market, right? The market conditions does play a huge part. And in this case, this is not the greatest market conditions. And so we play a little bit more conservatively. So in the event that we go long here, I'm not taking a trade. I've already mentioned it. If we go short here, well, I'm already in a trade, but I'm probably just going to, just let it play out. There's nothing much to do here. Just understand again, so far, this has been pretty choppy. And now let's get into Ethereum real quick, just to take a look. And by the way, feel free to follow me on Twitter at _theartofcrypto. If there's a trade update, I'm going to be happy to post it on Twitter, which is called the live trade. But anyways, Ethereum, so far, I think this heads and shoulders pattern is still kind of playing out. So far, you have swept out the neckline. Now, this is a liquidity level that I've mentioned that it would be swept. Now, it has already been swept. So now we are just looking for some kind of an upside or just some kind of signs of life. Just understand that so far, this is a bullish PDRA, right? This is a bullish fair value gap on the daily chart. Now whether or not price comes to this level or not highly depends on just the way that the intraday candles play out. Obviously, for the bulls out there, you are looking for price to head towards the upside. And by the way, remember last couple of weeks I said that these lows would definitely be swept before we get any sort of new all-time high. Guess what? It took a couple of weeks, but again, this is the thing about higher time frame kind of ideas. They do take time, and indeed they have been swept. Why? Because these are relatively equal lows. This is a magnet for liquidity. This is also liquidity, and right now, since we're close to the PDRA, I don't see why not that we do not fill the PDRA, as well as go all the way down to maybe 38.80 before some kind of upside movement. So in terms of Ethereum, I'm still just being patient. Same with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you can already start loading up, but Ethereum, definitely being a little bit more patient. In terms of intraday setup, yesterday was also super choppy, but remember the trade that I called live on the video itself? Guess what? It played out. The price did not come back into this level whatsoever, and it just went down. If you made money with that, or if you made money with the Bitcoin trade yesterday as well, like drop a comment down below. I'm going to be back on the comment section starting today. Past week, actually like past 10 days, I haven't been feeling super well. So I apologize if I've left some of your comments unread previously. I tend to read every single comment and I reply to every single comment. So feel free to drop it down below if you have any questions, or, if you just want to share with me like, hey, these videos have been helpful, because it truly does help keep me going to make these videos every single day, knowing that they are making an impact. But otherwise, with Ethereum today, it's personally, it's looking a little bit like choppy. Of course, you're still within this bearish order block right here, so potentially just pointing towards the same side. But then this like huge sweep yesterday leads me to believe that this is not as clean of a setup compared to Bitcoin. So personally, based on the available volatility that I'm seeing so far on Ethereum, I'm going to lean towards Bitcoin for a short today. In the event that we start heading long, I wouldn't necessarily lean towards Ethereum either. Like Bitcoin just has more volatility and the price action's like just looking a little bit cleaner personally. So for today, I'm going to sit Ethereum out. But yeah, no, it's just not a responsible thing today to call something for Ethereum. The only thing I could potentially see is if you get a sweep of the Asia highs during the New York session and you start breaking lower, this is potentially another trade. Or you don't need to actually sweep the highs, you just need to kind of break below this level right here on the 5-minute chart at 41.66. Break below that. If you close below that, you could already technically take a trade, placing the entry there, placing the stop there, and simply targeting for 2R. That is in the event that you want to trade Ethereum. That is going to be the setup that you can take. Moving on to Solana. Solana has, been retracing so far, although looking much stronger compared to Ethereum. You've just filled in some kind of higher time frame bullish order block. So let's just see how the daily candle reacts. Again, you have closed bearish for the last 3 days. So for the foreseeable future, at least for today, you are expecting more downside movement. But if today's candle closes bullish, then tomorrow we can potentially jump into a bullish trade. But so far, in terms of the 1 hourly, it's still looking like very bearish order flow, in the sense that right now you would actually be anticipating price to go lower, especially because you have just filled in this feather gap right here. You have bearish order blocks all around. So this is the difference between like price filling in these kinds of key levels, and then like we just wait until we get exact confirmations that, okay, price is going to bounce from this point onwards. The biggest mistake you could possibly make in crypto or just trading in general is that, okay, you have some sort of an idea that this is a higher time frame key level and you expect price to bounce from here. But then once price gets into this level, you just buy straight away and you hope for the best. Guess what? That is not a strategy that is rooted within logic, which means you should also expect results that are not based on a strategy. That is just buying and praying that it goes up. Obviously, not a very sustainable nor a very good strategy. In fact, on the flip side, what we do instead is once the price gets into those levels, right, there are certain confirmations that we need to see before we jump into it. As an example would be a break above $216. Like going above this bearish order block here would potentially lead to this entire zone here turning into potential support. But on the flip side, if we just buy in right now, we could potentially just come into this resistance right here and price continues going lower. You never know. Again, sometimes you might be lucky and price goes up. Sometimes you may be unlucky and price goes down. But do you really want to bet your money, your hard-earned money, on luck, or do you want to have a more systematic approach? We are going short until proven otherwise, and taking a look at the lower time frames. Well, this is going to be a bit iffy, because usually when we have a bearish bias, we want to see a sweep of the Asia highs rather than a sweep of the Asia lows. But essentially, this is going to be resistance until proven otherwise. So in the event that you start breaking lower between the hours of 7 to 10 a.m., then yeah, feel free to go short. Personally, I'm going to focus on Bitcoin because it has, well, at the very least, it looks the most clean as well as the most clear, even though it is not super clear. Even though, like I said, today is not the highest probability trading condition, Bitcoin still just looks a little bit clearer compared to Ethereum and Solana. And so that's going to be the one that I'm going to focus on. By the way, this is how you kind of look through multiple trade ideas and decide which one you want to focus on. Just go for the one that, requires the least amount of rationalization. For example, in Solana right here, I could rationalize, okay, potentially you're going to go up, potentially you're going to go down. Like, it's not as clear cut as Bitcoin. And so I'm going to focus on Bitcoin. If you've watched until this point so far, expect there not to be a video tomorrow, because like if the weather allows, tomorrow is going to be the day where I fly to Hong Kong. Now, of course, if the typhoon is continuing and my flight gets cancelled again, then I'll be recording a video. But otherwise, like most likely, fingers crossed, I'll see you guys on Friday. Ciao, ciao.